Exodus 21, Servants and Laws. Setting the stage. Journey with me, dear listeners, to the heart of ancient Egypt. Ah yes, the land of pharaohs, the great pyramids, and a rich tapestry of stories. Now remember the Israelites? Our ancestors, freshly stepping out from the shadows of the Ten Commandments, were just beginning to grasp the sensation of freedom. But with freedom came responsibility, and God, being the ultimate guide, didn't leave them without directions. Consider Eli, a young Hebrew man, born not into freedom but into servitude, working tirelessly to repay a debt. The sun beat down on his back, sweat dripped from his brow, but he kept on. Eli, my friends, represents many of us, bound by some invisible chains, be it debt, past mistakes, or societal expectations. Proclamation from the heavens. Now, if the Bible was a movie, this would be the dramatic scene where the divine intervention unfolds. Exodus 21:2 proclaims, "If you buy a Hebrew servant, he is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year he shall go free without paying anything." Eli's heart must have skipped a beat upon hearing this. 6 years and then freedom. But there's always a catch, isn't there? Here's the rub. Let's imagine that in the midst of his service, Eli fell in love, got married, and had children. Exodus 21:4 states, "If the master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and her children shall belong to her master, and only the man shall go free." The ancient equivalent of a plot twist, don't you think? Eli, now faced with the ultimate decision, what's a man to do? An owl, an ear, and a life-altering choice. Now, if Eli declared, "I love my master and my wife and children and do not want to go free," the master would then bring him to the doorpost. An act of symbolic significance, an owl would be used to pierce his ear. A forever mark of his eternal servitude, Exodus 21:6 reminds us. This was more than just an earring, it was a statement. The weight of the owl wasn't just physical, it bore the weight of love, duty, and sacrifice. The chapter doesn't stop with just the servants. It goes on. If one man hits another and the latter dies, he must be put to death. But if it wasn't intentional, God provides a place for him to flee. The guidelines laid out aren't just rules. They're designed to ensure justice, fairness, and social order. The sacredness of relationships. Let's dive deeper. Exodus chapter 21 isn't just about the rights of servants or penalties for injuries. It also touches upon the sanctity of relationships, both familial and between masters and servants. When men have a dispute and one strikes the other with a stone or fist, and he does not die, but is confined to bed, the one who struck him shall not be held liable, provided the other can get up and walk around outside on his staff. Nevertheless, he must compensate the man for his lost work and say that he is completely healed, Exodus 21:18-19. In a time where an eye for an eye might have been a tempting recourse, this law compels the aggressor to ensure the victim's full recovery and compensate for any loss. It's not about revenge, it's about responsibility. The chapter doesn't just stop with quarrels between men, it spreads the net wider to cover other eventualities. If an ox gores a man or woman to death, the ox must be stoned, and its meat may not be eaten, but the owner of the ox will not be held liable, Exodus 21:28. However, there's an exception. If the ox had a habit of goring and the owner, despite knowing this, let it roam free, then not only would the ox be stoned, but the owner might also pay for his life. Quite the emphasis on accountability, wouldn't you say? The vulnerable and the protected. Now, this next part is particularly touching. God's care for the vulnerable in society is clear. If men are fighting and hit a pregnant woman and she gives birth prematurely, but there's no serious injury, the offender must be fined whatever the woman's husband demands and the court allows. But if there's a serious injury, you are to take the life for a life, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, hand for a hand, foot for a foot, burn for a burn, wound for a wound, bruise for a bruise. Exodus 21:22-25. These verses highlight the gravity of ensuring safety for those who might be susceptible to harm. With strict guidelines in place, the ancient Israelites were reminded of the importance of shielding the most defenseless amongst them. As we reflect upon the laws from a time long ago, we see that they were way ahead of their time in establishing justice, responsibility, and accountability. They serve a testament to the timeless nature of the Bible's teachings. In an era where relationships could be complex, these guidelines served as a compass, directing how we should treat each other. Reflection. Friends, the tales of Exodus 21 aren't mere tales. They're life lessons cloaked in ancient wisdom. They're challenging us and prompt us to ask questions. Are we any different from Eli? How often do we choose comfort over freedom, or love over personal desires? Here's your call to action. Don't just be a listener of the word, be a doer. And occasionally ask yourself, what's my awl? Identify what binds you, then decide if it's worth piercing. Conclusion. As the sands of Egypt hold yesterday's tales, so too does the Bible, filled with tales that echo into our present. Exodus chapter 21 isn't merely an ancient text, it's a mirror reflecting our choices and values. And as we wrap up today, I leave you with this. The choices we make write our own story. So what tale are you penning today? Thanks for watching our video today on Exodus 21. Please like and subscribe our channel if you've enjoyed it. Till our next biblical escapade, keep those ears owl-free and your hearts open to the lessons from above. Stay witty, stay wise. Bible Short Stories, signing off.